Welcome to the first episode of Unbuttoned. If you do not know us already, we are Elizabeth and Lauren. We founded the women's apparel boutique Coco the Shop back in February of 2022.
Hi, everybody.
Hello. We're so excited to start a podcast, and we felt it fitting since this is the first time we've ever done this, and we're trying something new to kind of start our podcast on that topic. So kind of stepping outside your comfort zone and trying something that might feel intimidating and scary at first, but what it can bring to your life.
Yeah, I feel like taking the first leap is always the hardest part. And I mean, we've talked about this, like every leap we take is scary. And just this podcast, we were joking. We're like, this could be the worst thing ever.
But
also,
we tried
if we don't,
it, and we'll learn from it,
if
no
we
matter
don't try
what.
it, we don't know. And honestly, we're like, what's the worst case scenario? We have fun with it. So who cares?
Totally.
Yeah, but we were just saying we always reminisce on that people think that we knew each other for a long time.
Yep.
And that isn't the case. We just met, 2 years ago now?
Yeah,
2.5, almost 3-ish
4
years.
months before we launched the shop, honestly.
Yeah, so 2.5 years is?
Yeah.
I was staying home with my kids, which I loved, but I felt like I needed something for myself. And I reached out to Elizabeth because she was doing personal styling and home styling at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was building a house and I don't know, woke up thinking I was a designer one day. And
you were in that realm of like home design was definitely a hobby of yours at the time.
And I was like, if you ever need help with any of your projects, let me know. Would love to help you out. So we met for coffee.
And her just sending that email was like a leap of faith.
Yeah.
Like she was really nervous to even send that email because
Totally.
we didn't know each other. And you always have a little bit of that fear of rejection when you send those things and you never know like what the perception's going to be.
You feel like so weird because you're like, okay, is this so strange? I'm sending a stranger a message saying, want to work together?
I actually remember after you sent me I don't know if I've ever told you this before, but I remember creeping on you after you sent me that.
As one does.
And the one mutual friend we had was Megan Bello. You guys lived in the same neighborhood.
Yeah, we lived in the same neighborhood.
And I sent her a text. I'm like, you know anything about this girl? Like, she legit? She
Oh
cool?
my gosh. Well, I mean,
Is she a serial killer?
I don't know how legit or cool I am, so the answer is no to both of those.
But Megan was like, I don't really know her that well, but I think she lives in the neighborhood. She's cool. And I wrote Lauren back and I was like, I mean, I would love to meet for coffee, but just so you know, like, I can't pay you. Jaden broke.
Yes, we broke, and we were broke.
We still are broke.
I was gonna say disclaimer, but honestly, we didn't really care that we were broke.
Yeah.
We knew that we wanted to like just do something out of
wanted the
love
hobby.
of doing it.
Yeah,
and we knew that eventually we'd make money. And I think that is the really hard part about taking a leap is the financial aspect. I think people always talk about that, and
yes, that's fair.
I also like that to point out that people like to say that our husbands probably funded the shop.
Nope.
While they didn't fund the shop, surely they were there at the beginning when we weren't making money.
It's not lost on us that they kept a roof over our heads.
100%. But they were surely not shelling out Coco cash.
Nope.
As much as we'd like them to. But anyways, reaching out, and then we just honestly started to get together like once a week and do these styling things, and that was really fun. And it was around the holiday time, and Elizabeth was making a small like local shop gift guide for people, and we just got to talking one day, and she was saying how much she's always dreamed of like having a shop or having a clothing store, and I stupidly said, you should just like do it.
It was the push I needed though, because I had been talking about it forever. William was so young. Mason was so young. We were like bringing them. Like
we were bringing our
didn't
babies
have
to
childcare
the shed
at the time. Yes, to the little shed on my property that we worked out of.
Yeah, tons of little pictures of them in there. And we would put on Cocomelon or toys on the floor, and we were just making it work because we couldn't pay for childcare to do it. And honestly, I jokingly said, like, you should just do it. Why would you work for someone else?
Like, all right.
Who was I to say?
Yeah.
And then went home that night and was tucked into bed at my normal, like, 9 o'clock. And Elizabeth called and was like, hey, so don't hate me, but I booked us a flight to Chicago to go to market. I was like, for what? And
we had to fake our business cards. To
I
get
was
in
going to
there.
say, and I said, well, how do we get in?
Yeah.
She's like, well, I don't know. We'll figure that part out. We didn't have a business license. We didn't have a card. We didn't have a title. We didn't even have a shop name.
Yeah.
And if you look back at the beginning, we went to market with Coco Home and Style because we didn't even have a name.
Yeah. I was still like pumping at the time with William. It was post pandemic. We still like Chicago was still like pretty much really strict about like we had to have Bax cards to even go out to dinner.
And mind you, at that time, we still didn't really know each other that well.
Yeah, we didn't stay in the same hotel room or anything because I didn't know.
We just didn't know.
Yeah,
like, you know, and now we wouldn't dare stay separate.
Yeah.
That's part of the fun. But
Yes.
irregardless, we took the leap to do Coco. And honestly, we went to that first market and we were like,
We were
let's
so
just
clueless.
do it.
Yeah.
We were really clueless. We came with binders and computers and backpacks and looked like total nerds
We did.
walking around market, but we didn't care. We were just so excited. And we took the leap and we've learned a lot of lessons along the way.
We really have. And I feel like there's always a fear. I mean, of course there's a fear of starting something new, but I think that like looking back on this experience and just like me starting my blog and even like my first job, I feel like once you're kind of in it and you have the perspective of looking back, it gives you so much growth and like self-confidence when you do step outside your comfort zone and you accept the fact that you're probably going to kind of suck at it at first. Like we
still
back,
suck at it sometimes.
We still suck.
Honestly, once a day we look at each other and we're like,
100%.
wow.
And like we look back at our original try-ons and even the clothes we were selling and we're like, oh my God, cringe. But we've come so far and there's such a huge like growth. And I mean, I look at Lauren and like she has transformed as a person, like truly with your self-confidence and your leadership and your assertiveness. And I feel like this experience has like really done that for you because we've had to just fall on our faces and learn from it and get back up. And I think that is the thing that holds people back the most, but it's also like so satisfying when you do it and you realize that like life will go on if you fall on your face.
It's going to keep going. The world's going to spin no matter if you're down or up.
Exactly.
And honestly, I feel like a big thing for me was like the fear of like I grew up here. I went to school here. Like the fear of judgment of like, I was a teacher before we started the shop. Like, what you're just gonna like switch your whole life, and like, who do you think you are?
Right.
And honestly, that has taken me years to be able to like learn to block that type of things out. And like, obviously, you know, people are judging you. Someone's
100%.
always,
no
matter what you're doing,
Always.
you could be like Mother Teresa, and
Yes.
someone's gonna be judging you,
Yes.
and you just, I feel like, have had to let that go. And honestly, I feel like it's helped that we've had each other.
Yes, for sure. For sure.
But
I mean, at the end of the day, I feel like you just got to remember that you're not living for those people, you know? And like when you start to just find the confidence in not really fixating on what Sally from high school cares about, what the hell you're doing on social media or what you're doing with your life, it's like doors just open because your energy isn't spent on worrying about that stuff. You're using that energy to channel into like what makes you happy.
yeah, and I feel like it does show you too, like, I mean, the people who are truly your friends and stuff, like, they're going to be there no matter what.
Right.
Like, do they maybe think this idea is the coolest? Maybe
Right.
not, but like, they're going to still call you every once in a while and check in. And
Right.
you know what? It's like life keeps moving. It's not stopping because you're starting something new. And I feel like once you just embrace a little of the crazy, and honestly, looking back
crazy.
now, there's like a lot of lessons we would have learned. Like, I know people say like financially the leap. Yeah. We have had to
100%.
learn that the hard way. And looking back, sure, what should we have created like a little nest egg or created a better budget from the start or, you know, so on and so forth. But
you learn those things along the way, you know? And I
Right.
mean, I feel like a lot of those things, in our situation, starting a business, I feel like you can read all the business books and you can take all the advice, but until you actually face those things, you don't really get it, you know?
Totally.
But again, it's like you got to just be confident enough to cross that bridge when it comes. You're never going to know everything about everything before you jump in. And I think that that's like another really hard thing to like accept, but
totally. I feel like hard things to accept is that, and we're cringy. And like we don't
and
even
we'll probably
care.
listen back on this
And I'm gonna
episode 2 years
cringe.
from now, and we're gonna cringe so freaking
Like
hard.
we're gonna cringe at the fact that we're sitting here telling the story as if like people are listening and are like so invested and so inspired. And I'm like, if you like, I would just love to give people a glimpse into our day to day, and it's not as glamorous. Actually, I don't even think people think it's glamorous because we're a hot mess and we
pretty
own
much
it.
show it, yeah.
But at the same token, I'm like just kind of leaning into the crazy.
Totally. And that is our goal with this podcast. It's to just take you along and share those highs and lows and share even just like the life things that we face on a regular basis, because we always want to be real and never just show the glamorous side of things.
Right. Or even just show the shop side of things. Like we want to show the life. Like we just like lots of you are probably, moms.
And it's not easy all the time. And we're here to just embrace that. And hopefully it's relatable for some of you guys because it's definitely not always easy being a working mom. The mom guilt, the balance, trying to find a balance, which I firmly believe is not actually an attainable thing. It's different for everyone. I think that I feel the most balanced I ever have when it comes to like work life. But I mean, we both are in a situation right now where we've been working so freaking much.
We've been working so much.
And this is hard.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first time I called Elizabeth the other night and said, we have that pop-up Thursday. And I think I'm going to let the three of you do it. And I'm going to have to step back for the night because I need a night.
Yeah.
And, it's taken me how many years to say that? Like before I would have had total FOMO and been like, I have to be there. It's so important. And now I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah. I think that's a big thing that we've learned too. Yeah. Like having strong boundaries and feeling empowered enough to like put those in place when you know you need them. That's another big thing that I think we've both learned throughout this process too. Okay. So let's talk about that. There's like something so real about the loss of identity when you're a mom and you're like in the weeds when your kids are really young.
And I think everybody, obviously, when their kids are young, experiences that to a degree, but it's not just like the loss of identity that now you're mom and not like Lauren or Elizabeth, you're like mom.
Right.
But it's also just like for me, I was a teacher and then I had kids and I stayed home and I felt like while I loved giving my everything to my kids, I had nothing for myself. I had just come off of I had my kids like back to back sharing my body for years, whether it was carrying the baby or attempting breastfeeding. That's a whole nother episode. We can't even get into it.
We'll break that down later.
Yeah, that's a whole nother treat. But either way, I just felt like I had zero for myself. And I don't know if anyone else has ever felt like this, but I found myself genuinely getting resentful of my husband going to work. And he would come home and I would say, but you got to go to work and talk to people and you got to go to work. And he's
adult interaction.
Yeah. And he didn't quite understand at the time. It was like, I don't understand why you're mad at me for going to work. Like, how are we going to survive?
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much that I was mad at him for going to work. I was realizing that I needed something. And I've always been a doer.
Yeah.
Like I'm not somebody who can relax.
Same. And I have all the respect in the world for the stay-at-home moms out there that like love it. And I think that's another piece of it is there's like a guilt that you feel that you don't want to just do that all day long if you're in that situation. And if you want to have something outside of being a mom, there's also this like internal struggle of like, wait, I feel horrible that I want something for myself because I want to be an amazing mom. But what you have to realize is like, it's okay. It's 100% okay.
I think just in general, everything is made as this competition, like which one's harder? And it's like, it's not, neither of them are harder, easier. They have their own pros and cons, obviously. So I feel like that comparison game, but also we've talked a lot about this, just generational.
Yes. Yes. Like both of our moms stayed home.
Like my mom stayed home and I loved that she did. And I'm really appreciative of like those memories. And I can't say enough good things about my childhood.
Yep.
But I think like her and I have had a conversation of like, but why are you choosing to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think she's definitely understood now.
Totally.
Via like a lots of conversation, but I feel like it takes some time.
Pressure from that. Yeah.
Or even letting yourself let go of the pressure.
100%.
I mean, I still even like days I'm like, oh my God, like, should I be doing this, or this? Or like, I want to be somebody copy and paste me.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. But I think like you said, every family dynamic is different. Every person is different. There's no one size fits all way of doing it. And I think something you and I have definitely both learned about ourselves is that we are more present parents and like better, more patient moms because we have something for ourselves that pushes us as people and as professionals. And when we go home, we have more energy to give to parenting and to give to our households and our kids and our husbands. And it's hard when you're in that moment to know that that's going to be the thing because you have that guilt. But then it's such a good feeling, and you realize, like, why was I guilting myself over that? Like, I deserve that. I deserve to have an identity outside of mom, whether that be working or a hobby or just taking, like, running, taking a minute to just do something for yourself.
I think that that's another thing. And once again, I'm going to say this, I feel like a million times on every episode, but I also am just a very anxious person, and that's a whole different episode, chit-chatting about that.
Yes.
But saying that to say that when I was staying home, I noticed about myself that like 4 o'clock hit and I was resentful of everyone and anything. Everyone was annoying me. I was so impatient. I never enjoyed bedtime because by that point I was burnt out.
Yep.
And I was like, this isn't also fair to anyone.
No. Totally.
So, but that, again, everybody's personality is different. I have some friends who stay home and they're so laid back, and like I look at them and I'm like, wait, why can't I be more laid back like that?
My sister Katie is like that. And my mom was like
personality.
that. Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah. But I do feel like also it depends on the kid. We've also talked about this. Like my oldest needs structure, activities. If he's bored, he's flying off the walls. And
that can be really exhausting for you.
For so long, felt so much guilt about like, oh, have a longer school day. But it's genuinely been so good for him because he knows what to expect throughout the day. So all that to say, anyways, that sometimes it works itself out.
That, you were like, oh gosh, he's just going to be there so long. But now looking back, it's been like one of the best things you've ever done for him.
Totally.
Yeah.
The structure has been, so helpful for everyone, and it is. But that doesn't come without guilt. And I think that's something to acknowledge. And I don't think that ever goes away.
Yeah. I think back to, I got pregnant when I was 22 unexpectedly, and I like walked through those first years of motherhood so alone because no one else had kids yet or anything.
I don't know how you did that.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy like looking back, but again, it's like it's been such a journey for me of like figuring out how to not like how to be a little more selfish, honestly, because I just felt so guilty about it. And I felt so guilty that I wasn't loving being home. And at the time I was actually working full time. So I felt really guilty about working and wished I could be home more. But then when I quit my job, I also had this loss of identity because I had been working up until then. And I was like, oh my God, like, who am I? I don't even know what do I even like anymore? What do I was just like.
It has to be something you enjoy because grass isn't always greener.
No.
It has to genuinely be something you enjoy, because I know it probably sounds like us saying, if you're not enjoying staying home, you should get a job, but you might hate that too.
Right.
So
totally.
That's not to say grass is greener.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
But you had to learn at a way younger age than most people.
Yeah.
How to not only just care for yourself, but care for someone else who is straight dependent on you.
Whole episode. But I definitely, I mean, it was such a journey. Now with 3 boys, I feel like all of that has led me here, which is amazing. And I feel like even though the days here can be so hard and so stressful and so exhausting, it still doesn't feel like dreadful work like my old job did sometimes. It feels so fulfilling because it's something that we love so much. So, I mean, even just yesterday, we had like a really, really intense day yesterday. It was really stressful, really draining. Lauren was about to pass out at the end of the day, literally.
At the end, Elizabeth was putting things on racks and asking me questions. And I looked at her and said, I'm going to need a minute to put my head down,
eat something,
have a water.
Take a drink.
I was like, I just need a minute. Like I hit my limit yesterday, which is, again, I know that every profession, every workplace is that flexible or that friendly. Yeah. But we've gotten really lucky to be able to say to each other, I need a timeout.
Yeah. And all that to say too, like if you haven't figured out what that thing is yet, that is your thing, that is outside of being a mom, or is like the hobby or the job or the whatever it is that like brings you joy and makes you feel like you're filling your own cup too. Like that's okay too. I mean, that has been a 10-year journey for me, from the first child I had. So that too, like you don't have to have it all figured out. And
I also think that people have asked us this question before, like, oh, it just looks so fun. Like, do you guys are just always having fun? And yeah, we have a lot of freaking fun here, but it's not all fun and games. People also, I remember one of the first like Ask Us Anything we put up. Yeah. Somebody said, this was like the first year of starting it. They're like, do you guys ever fight? We're like, no, we've never fought. And now looking back 3 years, I wouldn't say we've like fought.
But we definitely,
but we've had
yeah,
like adult disagreement where we've
Yeah.
had to come to each other and say, look,
Yep.
that hurt my feelings, or I feel like I was misunderstood, or you misunderstood me, or I didn't like the way that was handled,
Yep.
or whatever. And I feel like it's so healthy
Yeah.
to have a disagreement.
Yeah.
People who don't disagree, I'm like,
Yeah.
that is not healthy.
Yeah. It's
Like, if someone's
people
not
who say
pressing
they
you to be
never fight
better,
with their husband, I'm like,
liar.
liar.
Liar. And I'm like, if you don't, I'm like, what?
Who are you?
I don't believe that. I've never believed that.
But those, to your point, like those hard conversations and situations, again, have like helped us grow as
Yeah.
people. And even though, again, it's like challenging, really hard situations, I feel like we both, because we were challenged, have learned more about how to communicate with each
Totally.
other. And also just, yeah, I mean,
That's something we actually talk about in every quote unquote argument is Elizabeth is somebody who is really good, and I envy her on sleeping on it.
my mom always taught me to write the email and sleep on it before you send it.
Which
But
is really
sometimes
smart
it's annoying for
because-
Lauren because sometimes she just wants to talk something out. And
I am
I
a
admire
person
her
who
for
wants
that,
to
'cause
just
she's
get
like,
it out in
yeah,
the air, talk it out, and be done with it.
Yep.
I don't want to sleep on it and have it looming for 2 days. I want to like hit it on the head, get
Yeah.
it out of the way, and be done with it, because I feel like I'm the person who festers on stuff, and then I'm creating other stuff in my mind, whereas you feel like you can become more logical thinking on it.
Yes.
So we've learned to respect each other and saying, hey, like I've said, hey, I want to talk about this. Let's talk about it tomorrow, because I know you'll probably want some time.
yeah.
But
But then
8
she
a.m.
still
you better
sends
call me in the
a book
morning.
of a text message
And
at
then, yeah, 2 a.m. when I'm still awake, I'm like, I just need to get this off my chest. So there's been a balance. But I do think I just want people to know that, like, even if you take the leap and you go for something, it's not going to be all rainbows and peaches. And I feel like the thing that gets us through some of this is we've built a friendship first.
Totally.
And
Totally.
in some things we've had to say that.
Yeah.
We've literally said to each other, my friend me says to you, and my business me says to you.
Yeah.
And they're sometimes two different things.
Yeah, which can
And-
be really, really hard. And I feel like we could do like a whole episode on
Yeah.
that too. Like,
There have been times where we're like,
Yeah.
I don't even myself agree with myself, because as your friend, I think you should do this.
Yeah.
And as your business partner, I'm like,
yeah.
don't
Or
think
we
about
walk
it.
away from a work day and we're like kind of annoyed with each other, but then an hour later we like start laughing at reels.
Yeah, reels or like
10 minutes later.
last night at 2 a.m. I sent a picture of my fang teeth, and I was like, why? I look like I'm a vampire in this photo. So I feel like as long as you can take everything with a light heart,
Yep.
you go
Yep.
for it. But yeah,
All right.
anyways, needless to say, take the leap. You can do something for yourself. It's okay.
It's okay.
Everybody will survive and be better for it.
Mm-hmm.
Do it.